Welcome back, casters. So recently I did a VR Skyrim review, and I figured what better game to do next would be Elder Scrolls Online. Now this is going to be a multi-part video because there are layers to how you would play an MMO, or at least this one anyways. So with ESO, there's different types of players. You have your role-playing community, you have your story community, you have your PvP community, and you have your raid community. Or as in this case, they're trials. Raid, instance, trial, whatever you want to call it, same thing. Big group goes in, does objective, gets gear. So, this game came out 6.5 years ago, and for an MMO, that's a bit of a big decision to make to get into a massively multiplayer online game. And I'm going to go over some recommendations depending on what your playstyle is, what you want to get into, and such. Because depending on what you want to do, depends on what you invest into when you first get into the game. If, for instance, you plan on doing the story, I would recommend that you immediately go for I wouldn't say collector's edition, I would go for, well, I don't know. I think the collector's edition is the one that comes with all the previous expansions, and you get everything with that bundle. And if that is your goal for story, I suggest doing that. Now, you also have the person who just wants to get their foot in the door. You can get just the base game, and it's quite a bit cheaper, but you also get a lot of limited content. There's a ton of dungeons and stuff that you can do with having the DLCs. So, it all just kind of depends on what your intentions are playing this. If you just want to experience the base game story, buy the base game, you get access to all the base game dungeons, you can play, I think up to max level. I don't think there's a level cap or anything like that with the base game. Now, if you're a crafter like me, there's one thing that I highly recommend is the ESO subscription. There is a $15 a month subscription for Elder Scrolls Online. My ping is spiking right now for some reason. That will give you access to a crafting bag. Now, the reason I say this is for, like, I'm 3 months in, and I've leveled up 5 characters to champion level. You go 1 to 50, and then you hit champion levels. You get a champion point for every level over 50. Every character you level up past the first one, once they hit 50, will be the same champion level as the first. You don't have to level up multiple characters to the insanely high level of 810 to get the maximum stat boosts. Now, a lot of that really only takes place in player versus player. You would gain access to all the DLC dungeons at veteran difficulty at level 300 of champion. And of course, like I just said, if this character I'm playing right now is at champion 301, the next character I level up, once they hit level 50, will immediately jump up to 301 in champion points. All your characters always have access to your champion points that you gain with any character. Now, your champion skills that you select for that character do not pass between characters. So, if I have 301 champion points, I can allocate those to different skills on this character, but I can put those same amount of points into different skills on another character. So this skill tree doesn't cross characters, it's just the points. Your level is all that transfers between. Next point being is if you intend to get into PvP and you really want to get like to a point where you're climbing and stuff, that's going to take some time. Obviously, you've got to gear out, you've got to level up, you've got to get your skills set up. There's certain skill lines, depending on what class you play, that require you to do certain content. Like Somerset, for instance, you can get the Sigic skill line, which you have to do quests to level that up. And if your build requires a skill from that skill line, you have to go do that on that character to get it. So it's going to take you some time to fully get into player versus player. I do not recommend jumping into it immediately. Again, this game's been out for 6.5 years, so a lot of people have like fleshed out builds, and you know, you're kind of going up against that coming into the game. And there are some insane builds for PvP. Now, that's not to say I don't want to dissuade anyone from trying to jump in and go for PvP. I'm just giving you the heads up that it's going to take you some time playing before you're going to be going into that, like, you know, climbing portion of that. You can also be a dungeon crawler or a role player or a trialer. And there's plenty of guilds. There's still a lot of people playing this game. There are some dead zones in the game, just because. I mean, let me just show you the map for this real quick. This is your world map for the game. Anywhere where there's these icons at is zones in the game. There are some areas that aren't content yet, and then if you zoom out further, you have Artaeum, Cold Harbor, and Clockwork City. And then there's even smaller areas that are inside of these zones. If you go into Skyrim, for instance, the Greymore chapter, you also have Blackreach. So there's layers upon layers of zones to be in. So while yes, you're going to find areas in the game that aren't populated with a lot of players, you can find guilds, you can find people that will go with you into those zones and help you do content there. Now, there are plenty of solo builds you can do. For instance, right now, this character I used to have as a healer, but I ended up leveling up a warden to play as my healer, and I turned this character into a solo build. It can survive, it has damage, and it has healing. So I can do all three. I can go around, I can fight world bosses by myself. Most of them. There's a couple of them that are a little tricky, but again, I'm also not max level, and I'm also not running gold tier equipment yet. Well, I've got my weapon gold tier. I leveled that up myself, but it's not enchanted the way I want it to be. So there's tweaks I have to do. Economy is a big factor in this. Gold early on is going to be a hard thing to come across. It's a huge dissuasion for a lot of people. 19,000 doesn't look like a lot that I have right now on this character, but I also store my gold in the bank, so I'm not inclined to spend it on menial things. I want to say I have like 220,000 in the bank on this character, or on my account. Bank is shared across characters, or across count, so that's a collection of all the gold I put into the bank from all my characters. The higher the level you get, the more gold you get. The higher tier content you do, the more gold you get from quests, from enemies, from dailies. There's a lot of daily quests. There's all sorts of stuff. And I know going over all this, it sounds overwhelming. And at first, it kind of can be. But the thing I recommend to anyone who's just starting out Elder Scrolls Online is do the story, or even just do the Zone DLC. I've played this on console before, which is why I'm not on max level. I played on Xbox for a few years, and I have a max level character on there, but I switched to PC 3 months ago, and that's why I'm not maxed out. For anyone wondering, like, oh, the low level character's doing a review. But for example, when I started this on PC, it immediately dropped me into the Greymore chapter, since that was the most recent expansion I had bought. Or had come out anyway. So I did the Skyrim Dlc first. And it's not set up in a way where you can't do it without understanding what's going on. So, like, you wouldn't have to load into Skyrim and, you know, not understand what's going on in that section of the story. Now, each zone has its own story. So if you're a completionist like me, going through every single zone and doing everything will take you some time. I've dedicated like basically a day to going through each zone. I think in one day I was able to complete 3. I completed these 3 in one day, and that was doing all the main story, getting all the locations found, the lore books, and the sky shards. I did not do all the side quests. That's something I will save for another day. I'm just trying to get the skill points, because you can get skill points from main quests, you can get skill points from collecting sky shards. You get a skill point for every 3 sky shards you find. Now there is one benefit, I will say, to playing this on PC, is you get add-ons. Now these are kinda like mods, but they're not. They don't affect gameplay directly. They, like this mini map that's in the top right of my screen, up near the compass, that is a add-on. So like I have an add-on for a mini map that'll show up on the screen, so I don't have to open this screen all the time when I'm running around. I also have a mod on, or an add-on, I should say, that shows me where sky shards are on the map. And you might think, you know, that takes the fun out of looking for them, until you look and you realize that there are 471 sky shards across the entire game. And while yes, I would like to go around collecting those, I don't want to take the time to do that without just going out and getting them. You'll understand once you start doing it. Some of them are actually kind of hard to find, because you have to find them in the world. So, there's that. Lore books go into your mage's skill line. That's what levels that up. Fighter's Guild is from fighting Daedric enemies, undead, stuff like that. You get XP for that. Undaunted, you'll get that skill line once you hit level 45. That's your dungeoning skill line. You level that up by doing dungeons or completing the daily Undaunted quests. There is one major skill in here that a lot of people use, especially healers, is Mystic Orb. There's morph of it for healing. There's a morph of it for damage. But that's going into a whole nother thing. Morphing is when a skill hits level 4, it can morph into 2 other skills. So you can choose which way you go. If you're a stamina build character, you can get a stamina ability sometimes. If you're a mage, you can get a magicka based skill. But I'm trying not to sidetrack into certain things. This is more like a review. But yes, depending, I would say I would put this in tiers, right? So if you're just wanting to get your foot in the door with Elder Scrolls Online, I would say just invest in the base game, try it out, see if you like the gameplay, the way it feels and everything. I'm playing on a computer, I have a controller connected to it. The game just feels better to me with a controller. That's what I'm used to playing it since I transferred over to console. There are a few games on PC I just prefer with controller. Tier 2, I would say, would be if you didn't want to drop, or you couldn't drop, the full cost of getting one of the bundles that come with the current expansion and all the previous ones, I would recommend buying the base game and then subscribing every month. I think it's like 20 for the base game. You can probably get it on sale for like 10. And then the subscription is 15. So total maybe $35, $25. And the subscription gives you access to all previous DLCs. So you won't get access to Greymore, but you will get access to everything before that. So you get DLC access. DLC quest starters are available in the story section of the collections menu. You get crowns every month. I think it's like $16.50 or something like that. Deals, you get deals to cost less on crown store purchases. You gain the crafting bag. You gain double the bank space capacity for your account. You gain increased XP, inspiration, which is for your crafting XP, trait research, which that takes you into a whole nother thing, and gold acquisition. You get double furnishing space in your house, double transmute crystal storage, and costume dyeing. Having subscription isn't necessary, but I would recommend it. The reason why I say the crafting bag is important is if you intend on crafting at all, everything goes in here, and as you can tell, there are a metric ton of crafting items in this game. And if I don't have the crafting bag, all that would be on my inventory. And I would not be able to fit all that in my inventory. So it automatically goes in there whenever I pick up items from that. Anything you get before you get the subscription will automatically go in there too. So if you pick up crafting items before you get the subscription, they'll automatically transfer over. You can pull stuff out of there. Anytime you're crafting, it automatically pulls it out and uses it when you're crafting. Another thing is, a fair warning, if you do get into crafting, research timers are a long time. You have to individually research every trait for an item, and I've got my max research timers up, and some of these items will take up to, I think the last item you research in here will take up to 30 days, even with the reductions. So if you intend on crafting, I'm just going to warn you that yes, it's going to take some time before you start fully investing in that. I've been running researches every day. I log in every day, make sure my researches are up, and yeah, I'm still researching 3 months in. Now, one thing I will say, there are daily rewards, and occasionally they'll give you these scrolls that will instant your researches, so those are nice. They'll give you XP scrolls. Every week I get 2, then the next week I can get 3, the week after that I can get 4. They give you food, they give you poisons, potions, they'll give you a crown crate, which is one of the crown store crates that you can get cosmetics from. And granted, a lot of the items that are in the crown store are they're not really pay to win necessarily. There are a couple things I could classify under that, and that would be that you can buy like your mount upgrades. So essentially every day you log in, you can go to the mount trainer and you can train your mount to go faster, you can get more stamina, or you can get carrying space for your inventory. Now total without these training manuals would take you 90 days to fully level up everything. I have speed, stamina, and carry capacity. And yes, there's been a couple of days I forgot to do it. So, like I said, I've played for 3 months, and for a couple of weeks there, I forgot to be doing it and missed out on a lot of days to be training. It's not necessary, but it's nice to have. But I wouldn't say it's pay to win. Like, you're not going to beat the game because of it, but you will get around a lot faster. And the carrying space is always nice. Right now I'm sitting at 123, odd number, but whatever. You can buy more bank space. I've probably bought 6 upgrades so far, and that brings me up to a 42,700 cost for the next one. It's a little pricey, but bank space is nice to have, so whatever you're into. But again, like I said, 3 tiers to playing. Depending on what you want to get into is what I would recommend buying. Base game with subscription if you just want to get your foot in the door and have access to all the content except for the newest expansion. If you're absolutely sure after watching this or watching something else or getting more information, I would recommend getting the bundle that has all the current DLC and all the past ones, because then that way once the new one comes out you can just invest in that one. And then if you intend on crafting, you can get the subscription. And then 3rd tier, I just all out. Get the subscription, get everything. Just go straight in. If you're absolutely 100% sure this is something you want to do, that's on you. Whatever you decide. So, this has been Elder Scrolls Online, if it's worth buying in 2020. It's been 6.5 years it's out. It's still going strong. It's fun to play. Give it a shot. If there's a free play weekend, sometimes they do it on console, sometimes they do it on PC. Just try it. If you enjoy it, get into it a little bit more. You don't have to play it every day, just something on the side. But thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.